Good afternoon, everybody. It's Chad from Six Blog. So, a couple of days ago, I did a review on my Altra Lone Peak 3.0s. Basically, the gist of that review, I talked about how I've been wearing these shoes for the past 5 months and how I loved every single thing about this shoe. Well, I loved a lot about this shoe, specifically the way that the shoe rode. The cushioning on the shoe I really enjoyed the cushioning. It's real springy, responsive. The traction, I've been happier with the traction than what I thought I was going to be, although even though since I've made my post, several folks have also commented saying that they have the Lone Peak 3.0s and they've had a lot of issues with the traction on those as well. So far in my experience, the traction has not been that bad, although to be fair too, I'm still kind of rigid with my shoes. I don't fully trust them like I did my Innovates. So maybe I'm kind of focusing more on my steps and what I step on and how my foot is placed when I step than I may be in time whenever I start to wear these shoes even more. And if I decide that I trust them more. But other than that, the traction, the ride that they offer, I love the way that my heel feels locked in place. I love all the room up in the toe box. It's just a really comfortable shoe for me to wear. In fact, like I said in that video, I have a pair of these that I keep at work, and then this exact pair here, I've done everything else with around the house. Some of the hikes I've been on, some of the rucks I've been on, just everything pretty much is what I use this particular shoe for. But at work, I stand all day in surgery, and for the most part, the only shoes that I found that I've been able to wear in surgery have been Crocs. Everything else just hurt my back. But when I started wearing these in surgery, these are the only pair of tennis shoes I've ever been able to wear and stand up all day long at work and not even think about my back hurting from my shoes. So all in all, I've really enjoyed the Lone Peaks. They've been a good shoe, and because of that, I wanted to wear a pair on my JMT hike coming up this year. So when I wore this exact pair right here, which is a half a size larger than what I wear, on my Florida Trail hike in December, I realized that the toe box was just a little bit too big for me. I kind of thought about maybe going back to a size 12, which is the same size that I wear at work. But then I started thinking, one thing I thought was the Lone Peak 3.5s had come out, of course, by this time, and a lot of people were saying that the toe box, and in fact, the whole shoe was just a smaller fit than the 3.0s. So I decided that I wanted to try and pick up a pair of 3.5s and give those a try to see if it might be a little better for me. So that's what I did. This video is not about the 3.0. If you want to check that out, I'll post a link somewhere, and you can go check that out. This is actually going to be about 3.5s, but this is going to be a comparison video. So the other day I was on Amazon. Normally these shoes are $120. I've seen them several times marked down to about $96, and then one day I pulled up Amazon. They were on there for $84, and I thought, now's the time. I'll just go ahead and get them and try them. So I picked them up. They showed up at my doorstep yesterday. I wore them around the house yesterday. I haven't worn them outside just yet, just to make sure that I'm going to want to hang on to these. But I wanted to take time to do a little review, talk about some of the differences and what I felt was different as far as the 3.5s versus the 3.0s, and kind of give you some close-up shots. First off, I want to say, I'm going to bring the camera in a little closer so you can see it a little better, but I do want to say that, like I said, the biggest difference, what I was looking for was a Lone Peak shoe, but with just a little bit smaller toe box, and that's what it sounded like the 3.5s were. Whenever I thought of that, I was thinking the whole shoe is actually just a little smaller. What I found was something completely different. What I found is that when I take the insoles out of these shoes, because first off, I bought these in a size 12.5, which is a half size bigger than what I normally wear. When I put my foot in this thing, it really did almost feel exactly like I put my foot into this one. The foot bed, the width of the foot bed is the exact same size in the 3.5 versus the 3.0. It's not smaller, it's not narrower, it's the exact same size. And I've got some pictures. I'll put a picture up here showing the insoles. I took those out, laid them on top of each other, top up. Just so you know, this is the insole on the 3.0. It's got the the yellow writing on it, and it's got the red underfoot. The other one, it's got the gray and the black, that come out of the 3.5s. But when I took those insoles out and put them together, they're the exact same size. To me, that says that the footbed on these shoes are the exact same. So I don't understand where a lot of people are saying that it's a smaller shoe. Now, saying that, I will say that I do feel like it is a smaller shoe, but the way I gather it is from the upper, not the lower. What I found is that to me, it feels like this shoe is actually a little tighter across the top of my midfoot. And because of that, it kind of gives me the feeling that it's a little smaller. Now, it's not squeezing it too tight. I think it's just a little bit, it feels like it's a closer fit on the upper than the Lone Peak 3.0. And maybe, I think some of that has to do with the reinforcement. And I'll show you that in a closer video or picture in just a minute. But I think that some of that has to do with the reinforcement of the shoe on the sides as well as in the toe box here. But like I said, took the insoles out, put them together. It's the exact same insoles. There's no difference in the insoles as far as size is concerned. Now, maybe something that I cannot see with my eyes is that the actual inside of the shoe on the footbed, maybe that's a little different. I don't know. But just comparing the insoles, it's the exact same insoles. So hang on, I'm going to bring that camera in a little bit closer and show you a couple of things on the 3.5s and go from there. So immediately you can kind of see, let me just go ahead and pull up this shoe here so you can kind of get a look at the 3.0 versus the 3.5. And immediately you can see one of the first things that you notice is different is the stitching here. This is the reinforced stitching in the toe box. You can see it doesn't have it here on this shoe. And the one thing I'm wondering if, I'm thinking that this right here is actually what is making me feel like the toe box is just a little bit smaller than the toe box on this shoe, even though the footbed is the same size. From what I gather is just by simply putting this thread in here, it's actually kind of squeezing the toe box area just a little more, and it's not letting it relax and flex out, kind of like these are. As you see, there's nothing that's really keeping this shoe here from being able to just kind of lay out. The material can just kind of fold out along the sides, where it can still do it on this one, but it's not, it doesn't have that flex like this may have because it's actually stitched here. Other than that, you know, like I said, the part where it laces up, to me, some people were saying that this one is a little better than this. I don't know. I don't understand that. Maybe that's a little beyond me. But you can see, I mean, there's solid reinforcement coming up all along the side here, and that's actually going up into the laces the same way it is here. So I'm not sure. One thing I see that might be a little different is it looks like this may be 2 layers here. Maybe this is coming up and pulling directly straight up against this part here, and maybe that's going to kind of create a smaller fill right there, whereas this is just pulling actually over here rather than through here. Maybe that's something, I don't know. And then it looks like this part here could actually be like an overlay too, and kind of pulling up. So I don't know. That's some of the, you know, like I said, that's some of the differences that I see, but I don't really understand how that can make a big improvement or a big difference in feel. Maybe it does. But I can definitely say that it feels much different putting this shoe on than this shoe as far as the upper is concerned. Like I said, the lower, I still feel like my feet, my toes have plenty of room to splay out just like they do in this shoe. It just feels like it's a little more control and stabilized in this shoe. Now, one other thing that I want to point out in this shoe, well, a couple of things. First off, something that I'm never going to use. This shoe has the gator side traps. I'm never going to use that. My dirty girls don't use that. So it doesn't really bother me that it's there or that it's not. So I'll use the gator trap on the back here, and of course I'll use the hook that's up here on the front. I just won't use the ones that's on the sides. Besides that, the only real notable difference that this shoe has over the other shoe is they've added these drainage holes. Now these drainage holes is something that at first I thought that I was going to be excited about. As you can see in these shoes, they don't have any drainage holes anywhere. And this material here is probably just a little tougher for water to drain through than the mesh. And as you can see, it's kind of got probably a good, you know, quarter, actually a little more than a quarter of an inch probably. So that just kind of probably holds water. Like I said, now I have not actually walked through standing water in these. I haven't got them that completely saturated. So I'm not really sure about that. But I was excited thinking that, because I am planning on walking through water on JMT, and I was thinking these drainage holes would matter. But here's my thing. These drainage holes are tiny. I mean, so tiny. And they're really, considering the area of the shoe, I mean, if you just take this little area here, there's nothing to it. There's 2 on this side. There's 2 here in the mid step. And if you turn it over to this side, there's 2 at the front here. There's not any over here. So basically, they've added 6 holes to the shoes. And if you look at the area that it makes up, it's nothing. So honestly, I am like very just, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm just not moved or impressed by these drainage holes. Plus, if you take into consideration, the drainage holes doesn't even sit at the bottom of the footbed. There's about 1/8 of an inch from the lowest point at this one corner is about 1/8 of an inch from the bottom of the footbed there. So there's still a little trough that goes all around the shoe that can hold plenty of water. I don't know though, while I'm walking, maybe my feet will push the water up, because that is one thing I've noticed in my Innovates. When I'm walking, I would actually see water bubbling up from the top. So maybe that will be better than what I'm thinking it's going to be. But all in all, I'm not impressed with what they call drainage holes. I'm hoping that proves me wrong. Besides that, I want to say that it looks like they use the same shoestrings in the 3.5s that they do in the 3.0s. The 3.0s, this is about the gist of one of my knots here. They just will not hold a knot. I mean, that's just loose, and it doesn't matter. One poster was telling me, maybe I'm tying the wrong kind of knot. Maybe I am. I don't know. I'm sure there's several other knots that work for different methods. But you know what? This is the knot I've been using since I was like 3 years old, and I've never experienced as much issue with a shoe not being able to hold a knot until I started using these. They don't hold a knot at all. The shoestrings, they just get soft. They get slick, and they don't do a great job. And it looks like these are probably the same shoestrings. So probably one thing I'm going to do is I'm probably going to take these shoestrings out and put different shoestrings in before the JMT, unless they can prove to me otherwise that they're better before then. But anyway, so that's the Altra Lone Peak 3.5s. So that's still 0 drop, which means there's 25 millimeters stack height here below my heel, as well as the ball of my feet. It's the same. Basically, it gives you that barefoot movement. It does a good job. This shoe just as well as my 3.0s. I really do like the way that my heels fit into the shoe, and it feels like they're kind of locked back. It does a really good job. I will say on this shoe, I forget what it's called. I use this lacing on my Innovates. I actually ran the shoestring back and then pulled it up, so that works like a pulley, and that would actually help pull the shoe there. Somebody else could probably tell me what this is better than I can. But I really enjoyed using that method, whereas with these right now, that's just got it just laced like normal. But like I said, I'm going to change those out, so I'm not sure what I'm going to actually do by that time. But anyway, Altra Lone Peak 3.5s. Like I said, I just got them yesterday. I've only worn them inside around the house. I have not even put any dirt on them. It looks like the traction and everything is the same as what it was on the 3.0s, or the outsoles. Midsoles, supposedly the midsoles and the outsoles completely unchanged from the 3.0s to the 3.5s. I think most of the change has been in the upper. Anyway, that's my first look thoughts. If you have anything to say or add to this, feel free to post below, and I'll do my best to get back to you. And until then, thanks for watching.